Alright everybody, so I just wanted to show you right down where I had drawn those arrows. I started digging and got right into the gopher tunnel, which is right down in there, dropped right into it. So now we're going to open that up further and we'll be able to set our gopher trap down inside of there. Okay everybody, so we have excavated the gopher hole out now and found the tunnel running in two directions like we predicted that it would do. So you can see I've opened it up a little bit more and there's a lot more room inside there. So I have my trap now set, and so what I'm going to do is, and I'll explain this in a moment as well, but what I'm going to do is insert my trap down into the tunnel, push it in to the tunnel here, and then leave it set inside the tunnel so when the gopher comes through, they will walk into that trap and hit the trigger. Now, the one thing we talked about was there was a fork in the road here, so that means the gopher could be coming from either direction. So we're gonna have to set two traps in there, and then we'll have to stake those traps down, and you can see the loop in the end of the trap there. That's where we're going to put a stake through there to hold that trap. Otherwise, the gopher will drag it down in the tunnel with them, and you can lose that trap, or a coyote or a dog could come along and grab the dead gopher and run off with your trap. So we'll show that in the next video, how we'll do that. But the gopher trap is going to slide into the tunnel just like that, at least with this DK1 trap. And then we'll show you how to set the system up to bring the gopher in and to get him into the trap in the next video as well. All right, everybody, so we've got our first trap in, but we talked about there being a fork in the road. So we've got to put another trap in that's going to go in the tunnel that's going the opposite direction. That way, no matter what side of this hole the gopher is on, when he comes to plug this hole back up with dirt, he will come in to our trap. So I'm going to insert another death clutch trap going the opposite direction. And so sometimes the tunnels are not quite wide enough in diameter to insert these traps into, so if they won't go in, you might have to widen them out a little bit. And in this particular case, it goes in, and so I'm running it into the tunnel and I'm placing those two eyelets right over each other. Now that's not necessarily how you have to do it, but I'm just lucky in this case that I'm able to do it that way. So now I'm going to take my stake, which is just a big galvanized nail, run it through both eyelets, and I'm going to press it down into the soil. I've got a big rock here, and I can kind of pound it in just a little ways. That's going to prevent the gopher from dragging the trap back down into the tunnel and disappearing with your trap. So now we've got our trap set, and we're about halfway there. But what frustrates so many gopher trappers is they set their traps at this point and they come back out to check their traps, and they find that the gophers come along and just filled the trap with dirt and they don't have any gopher in there. Now that's going to happen some of the times. Even the best gopher trappers in the world are going to experience getting outsmarted by gophers. But here's what we do in an attempt to convince the gopher not to fill it with dirt. So just to explain a little bit about what the gopher's doing, the gopher always keeps its tunnel system sealed with dirt. They plug up all open holes. So what they're going to do is they are going to sense the fresh air and the light coming into this open hole, and it's going to draw them to this hole, and they're going to want to plug it back up with dirt. What we want to do is we want to get them to come into the trap before they plug it with dirt. So my assistant Hattie is going to hand me some grass that she just picked for me, and we're going to place this grass as bait down in this open tunnel system. So we're placing all this grass down in here, and this is still going to allow light and fresh air to come in, so it's going to draw the gopher to this location. But when the gopher gets there, and these are called, what we're trapping here are the North American pocket gopher, what they do is they stuff the cheeks of their face with food and take it back down to their feeding den. So when the gopher gets here to plug this up with dirt, the hope is that they'll see the grass and they'll say, well, there's food there for us. So they're going to fill their cheeks with that food to take it back down into their feeding tunnel before they plug this hole up. Well, in order to get to this grass, they've got to come in and touch the trigger mechanism. And so that's how we keep them from stuffing dirt into our trap before they actually get trapped. So once we put the grass in there as bait, then we're going to take something like a rock. You can use a piece of wood, or you can use a big piece of cinder block or something like that. But we'll just use rock in this case, or calcium carbonate. Here we have our caliche from our fine Idaho soils, and we will cover that hole over to create as dark of an environment as possible. The gopher is going to be very sensitive to light and also to the fresh air, so the more we cover it up, no big deal. And then we're going to take some dirt from our mound and we're going to cover over here as well, and we're just going to leave a little bit of light and air coming through. And so now this dirt is not fouling our trap. Remember, our trap is back pushed into the tunnel, and then there's grass over it. So we're going to just cover this with dirt, let a lot fall in there, and we're just going to leave a little bit of an opening of air and dirt coming in right here. And so now our trap is set, but we've got to remember where it's at. So Hattie, will you hand me that blue flag there? So a lot of times what we'll do is we'll take some sort of a marking flag, such as this one here, and we'll just run this down into the gopher tunnel, into the gopher hole, and we will mark the location of our trap. Now I want to give you a disclaimer here that these flags are not sufficient for holding those traps. So you want to use something bigger to hold those traps. But anyway, this trap is set. We will check it tomorrow and we'll see what we've got.